Okay, so what we got is the spring, and then the sleeve, alright, sleeve is now off. Boy, wouldn't it be neat if you could buy the separate components to fix these, because then I would just buy a new one of these and clean this all up. Yeah, wouldn't that be neat? Alright, now, in theory, these balls now should be able to move out freely, so this coupling should pop out. And that it does. And the balls come flying out. Some of them do because there's nothing to retain them. This cup's no longer in there retaining them. Wow. Rust and crud. Crud of ages. Well, quick bath in the carb cleaner, and these balls look like they cleaned up nicely. I'll have to inspect them more closely. Alright, I gave this a quick rinse. The outside of this is pretty pitted. Try and clean that up with the wire wheel in a minute. But for those of you who don't know how these work, it's kind of easy to see now. Basically, the way these quick disconnects work is you've got a check valve here that opens when this point is pushed in, and then you've got a check valve here, same thing, opens when that point is pushed in. So when this part here is inserted into the other part, like so, what happens is those 2 points that I was just pointing to push against each other, and the check valves they open, allowing the flow of the hydraulic fluid. And then when this is removed, when you disconnect it, both check valves automatically snap closed and keep the fluid from coming out. And then when this is inserted all the way, the ball bearings that sit in these holes, they end up falling down into this groove right here, and that keeps this retained. But you have to have this sleeve keeping those ball bearings captive, and that's why it won't come out. And then what happens is, by design, you get the spring-loaded sleeve. As you push the sleeve down, the ball bearings move out of this smaller diameter here that's keeping them captive into this larger diameter here, which allows them to pop out so that you can pull the coupling out. So it's really a simple setup, but it works really well when it doesn't get all rusty and abused like this one. Okay, clean this outside area with the wire wheel. It's still pitted, but I think it's still going to be serviceable, because that's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be a fine machine surface. I cleaned this groove here to get the snap ring in and out easier, and the other area I clean well is right here, this groove where the ball bearings ride in and out of. And then the other serviceable part of this is there's an O-ring in there that actually does the sealing once it's engaged. So, you know, if you want, you can change that O-ring. At the very least, inspect it, make sure it's not cracked, dry rotted, pinched, damaged in any way. Now, this metal that's deformed right here, right there, I'm going to try and grind that a little smoother on the grinding wheel, just so that sleeve can clear that a little easier. Okay, that looks better. So now I've had the sleeve soaking here in the cleaner. Let's see how that looks. Okay, this smaller ID right here is in pretty good shape, but it's having trouble clearing this lip. So I think I've still got, I don't know if you can see, but this wall thickness is different as it goes around here, I think, from being beaten on. It's changed its OD here, so I'm going to try and give it a little bit more of a grind. Okay, I've cleaned this up. I got all those marks off from that chisel or whatever was used on this, and seems like it's a little better. Now I can slide this on. It's a tight fit. Actually, when it gets down a little further, it gets tight again. So So I gotta see if I can figure out what that's hanging up on. Actually, when I put the camera down and tried, it's not as bad. I think it was just a little cocked sideways when I was pushing it on. If I make sure it goes on straight, it slides on and off. Not too terribly bad. Alright, I used my more aggressive wire brush on the big grinder there, which is steel, and hit this outer perimeter here where the ball holes are, and that seemed to take care of that problem. Now it slides on and off nicely, and I haven't even really cleaned the inside of this yet, so I'm going to get a small wire wheel on a drill and whiz the inside of this. Oh, this will work. Alright, I cleaned that up pretty well. You can actually just see a ghost of where the balls have been sitting for such a long time. Little rust dots. But it's nice and smooth now and goes on and off of here like it seems it should. So the question is now, if I put it all back together, will it actually spring back and forth like it should? Well, this clip right here is a bit of a nightmare. I can't tell if it's just completely trashed. It's got a real strange shape to it, the way it's bent. I don't know if that's by design or not, but needless to say, I can't get it to stay in this groove. And the other thing is, not only does it not want to stay in the groove, but then when I put this sleeve up, looks like the area that was really badly damaged over here that I had to grind away is gonna leave that groove partially exposed and not allow this clip to be retained. What's the purpose of that clip? I'm trying to figure out, because the way this is made, hold on a second. Oh, okay, I had to check because I couldn't remember whether or not this slid all the way off, but in both directions. So obviously the purpose of the clip is to keep this sleeve from being able to do this. So it's a must, so I gotta figure out something. I wonder if I could just find a regular snap ring that would sit in that groove and do that job for me. Because really all it's gonna do is, when this little beveled edge right here hits it, it keeps it from coming off this way. I'm going to try and pop that clip in anyways. Before I got too far ahead of myself, I remembered that I needed to put all those balls back in. So it's a little tricky to get them to all stay in there, and while you're trying to get the sleeve over it, you could probably use some heavy grease to stick them in there as like a temporary little tacky glue type of effect, but I was able to get them in. Well, I've got this ring partly in there. Got to get it to clip in there. Problem is I got to hold this sleeve up with tension as I'm doing it, otherwise the sleeve could slide down, the balls will fall out, and I'm back to square one again. Also, if I let the sleeve fall down, the other part of this clip that I already got in will want to slide out of its groove. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over on the bench and put the other half of this together with the spring and that big clip, and let the spring actually hold the tension on this end. Alright, I've got the spring pushed in, and then the spring catches on that groove that the snap ring's going to go into. So that kind of keeps it retained temporarily while I work on getting this ring down. But I'm going to clean this ring up. Phew! Getting that snap ring back on is a trick. But put a screwdriver in the edges here and pry it open a little bit, get it to catch on this side, and then kind of keeping pressure on here, work your way around with the screwdriver and pushing, and you can get it to just clear this. There's a little bit of a bevel on here that helps, and you can just get it on there like that. And now all I got to do is carefully tap and slide it down all the way down into position, and then I got to make sure that spring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, before I get it too far down, I'm going to get that spring released so the spring comes up and pushes on the back of this, and then I'll push against the spring tension and it'll pop in. theoretically. Okay, got the spring released. Now I'm going to push the clip down and hopefully I'll be able to get it to pop the spring past. See, the problem is I don't want this little end of this flat little metal piece on the spring to get stuck in that groove and keep me from being able to get this this ring in. So that's the trick. Okay, that worked. Now I can pull down on this sleeve the way it's supposed to be able to pull down, like I just did. And then I can try and work that clip into position. Hopefully the sleeve will pop back up and cover it. Well, that's it. All that time and trouble. And I don't think I'm going to be able to save this damn thing. What happens is the clip is so badly deformed that it gets hung up in there. And that doesn't allow you to move the sleeve the way you should. So then I tapped the sleeve down and the clip popped out. And then to make matters worse, it actually, the sleeve went down so far that it allowed it to get hung up on this snap ring down below here. So now I can't even get it to go back nice like it's supposed to without tapping it back. See, this outer sleeve is so damaged that it's not really keeping that the way it should, captive in there. It's not keeping the snap ring captive, so it's allowing the snap ring to pop back out. You know, it's funny, the sleeve is actually catching on something else. Not sure what. So it's actually not coming apart now. So I got the ring back in position and it actually is working. If I pull it down, that'll release the balls. Let's see. Okay, it's partially inserted, so if I pull the sleeve down, put pressure on this, it should connect. Let's see what happens. It actually works. Actually works. Tempted to just leave this out and try it like this. Of course, I have to be really mindful that if I pull the sleeve down to release it, that I don't pull down too far, because I could have a problem with the balls falling out maybe, or no, they can't really fall out. Could get hung up on the bottom of this thing again. Well, I need to put the camera down, but let me try it a couple times to see what happens. It actually works pretty darn good. Literally, when I pulled the sleeve down, this literally popped out. Alright. See if I can't pull the sleeve down. See if I can put the camera. There we go. So that's connected. That's disconnected. Oh, that's where your problem was. See what happened right there? The ring came, this outer ring cleared whatever it was getting stuck on and came all the way up. That's the problem. Can't have that. So that's why. I should pop off of my face. That is why we have to have something to do the job of what this mangled ring was doing in there. Thinking a trip to the hardware store and maybe a snap ring. Might be able to find the style ring.